they're both 21, right under 2,000 gallons, but if you flood them to the top, about 2,100 gallons. So they can actually utilize those brush trucks, not only for fighting the brush fire, but also for structural, with their current pumper right now. Now, one issue the city needs to keep in mind, with the tanker pumper that is down, mutual aid may become a little bit more difficult for structure activity. Certainly not grass fires or any of that, but for structure activity, we need to maintain a pumper within the city confines at all times, and that protects the city confines. So we should have two units on hand. So when we delegate one out for a mutual aid, we always have one setting back. And the personnel, even if you volunteer base, is kind of iffy who's going to be there. But if they did get a call out, then some of the personnel can leave from that call to go get the other truck to deal with the city. And that's basically how it's always been dealt with. So mutual aid calls, we need to look at how we're going to handle the structure type activity when we take our pumper out of the city confines. So we need to look at that, and I'll be visiting with the mayor and y'all on that issue. So that kind of becomes a little tricky when you only have one truck.
So that damage that was done to that truck, how does that happen?
Well, it can be done in any number of ways. From my aspect of it, I'm merely speculative at this point. Obviously, I wasn't in the truck. And the truck I was notified after the truck was brought in. But the truck lost a large amount of coolant that it had at some point from the fire call to where it shut down. The computer does indicate that it did alarm out. It showed that it had a period of operation that the water got hot, and then it alarmed out, and then it went back down, which once water's off the sensors, they go back down. The computer verified that, and the data verified that. The dealer verified all of that. And as a result, we had some water in the oil, which when the engines get hot, you'll blow head gaskets or brake blocks or whatever the case may be. And wherever the other coolant went or what happened to it, I just don't know.
So is there a log that's being kept that they check the oil, check the water, check this, check that?
Well, I spoke to.
I mean, I know they can't do it when there's an emergency.
No,
they do it daily?
Yeah, we had a meeting on that, and the previous chief had brought it up that unfortunately he hadn't been keeping a written data log of every time that they serviced the trucks or checked the trucks out. And so we didn't have anything to really go off of for that. But I had since talked to them, and they're going to create a log, and that way the trucks can be checked when they come in and when they go back out for service.
So right now we don't have.
Well, no, not at this point. No, sir.
Okay.
There is no logs to.
Okay, so you said 65,000?
It's right now the quote is at 55.9 with about a 10 to 12% variance. So you're looking anywhere. It's not going to be any cheaper than that.
Well, I know, but that's more than 50% of their budget.
Hey, John, can we get us, buy a smaller unit that maybe, you know?
Cost less.
So that's maybe about 45.
Sure, the city, that's a good idea. The city can purchase another fire truck right now, ready to go, that will support the city, that'll get us out of one, the guys don't have a second truck. It'll get them a second truck. It'll also get the city where it can perform its mutual aid properly. And the current truck, the current tanker could be either set back and repaired at another date when the city had the money, or just hold it and wait and look for a wrecked truck that has low miles on it where you can pull the engine out at a much reasonable rate than the rebuild. There's a lot of options that can be done. The primary option is to make sure that everyone entertains the idea of getting something back into the department,
Right.
so they have the necessary equipment and things that they need. And
Can later talk.
I'm sorry.
Can we let him?
Yes.
Go ahead.
That
Go ahead.
tank truck did not have no alarm system. I know because I was driving.
Yeah,
I
I know.
didn't went down, I was driving.
Right.
And then I didn't know.
I'm just indicating what the
I was in
computer
front
told us,
of
that's
that
all.
truck. I was in front of Stripes and Sitting, and they just started making a real big loud noise. Got no light indicating that it was running hot, it was running perfect.
Well,
When I got to that point, it started making a noise. When I got to the front of Pizza Hut, it turned off. I had enough power to pull over, and we stopped there. And at that time, I contacted my fire chief.
right.
He went out there, Citizen Fire Chief went out there, and they had plenty of water cooling.
Okay. Now, as far as the communication between the computer and your dash panel, it can't tell you if the dash panel was working or not. So all it can tell you is what the sensors indicated to the computer, okay? So to clarify that in a little clearer vision, the engine could have been getting hot and could have been doing the things that it was because the engine computer caught it, the truck caught it. Now, if the instrumentation inside the truck malfunctioned or wasn't working properly, well, then there would be no way of you knowing.
Because it was already fire, when we were in the fire, it was out there. As soon as I got to Stripes, during Sitting, that's when it started making that noise.
Well, and in a situation like this, I've been with the fire department, so I know quite a bit about that department. Now, these issues that you have, catastrophic failures in equipment, no one's pointing fingers, okay? All I'm simply reporting is what the facts say from the computer, okay? I wasn't in the truck. I wasn't at the scene. I didn't speak to anyone, as I stated. Now, I don't know if the instrumentation cluster was working or not. I wasn't in the truck. So I have to take you at your word. It didn't happen. You didn't see anything, so obviously maybe the instrument cluster was not working, okay? But the fact of the matter is that it did go down, right? There's no question about that. And it went down on a loss of coolant, overheat, and it seized the engine, okay? Now, after it cooled down, the engine was trying to restart. It was knocking profusely, and there was water draining. It still had water in the oil. So therefore, the engine is basically non-serviceable at this point. And the juncture we're at right now is to figure out what would be for the city, not me, for the city to determine what's the best course of action to get something back up, either put the truck together or issue another truck. There's multiple options. Generally, on the east side of that truck is having, they trade the trucks off, they get other trucks in. They don't go in there and spend $68,000 on motors. However,
All our non-citizens are protected by the.
the city right now is just fine. It has too hard for us to do all 2,000 gallons of water. You have your city tanker, your city pumper, 750 gallons. It'll service the city just fine. Absolutely no worries. The worry comes in is when you have to mutual aid outside of your city confines. That becomes the issue. And when we ordered that 4,000 gallon tanker, I sat down with the mayor, and I sat down with the other council members at the time, and I went outside of this region to purchase it. It was spec'd out because I wanted more water on the ground here, and that's the reason for that truck. It's an asset, but it's not necessary inside the city confines. The city, we have fire hydrants, we have facilities to protect our citizens. Where that truck comes into play is outside in the mutual aid areas. And at that time, the mayor and several other ones were concerned to have better water resources out in the Bethel area, things of this nature, so that's why we opted to go that route.
Yeah, because in Bethel, there's no fire hydrant.
Correct. And so at any rate, please don't take any offense or no one's pointing fingers at anything.
No.
I know you were driving the truck, okay? I know who you are, and I know you're driving. However, to be honest with you, Chucky, it really, at this point, it's a moot point because we're trying to deal with the truck that's damaged.
Well, that truck is a lot, when, during summer. It went everywhere.
Well, they do that. That's
Yeah, we do.
the nature of the beast with them. But,
John, I think you came up with two good recommendations, the log, you know what we're gonna do.
right,
And then
and I
if you,
spoke to the
if you
chief and the
were to-
previous chief of that, yes.
you would just stay focused with Mayor
Yeah, we
and
can
Jamie,
do-
because I don't want this to get lost somewhere. I
Okay,
think
that's
Marco
fine. I was
made
just
a
trying to
good
explain to the
recommendation
gentleman what we're doing.
About maybe a smaller truck or something.
If
If
I can
that's
get
something
you,
we can do.
I can look around, get some numbers, get
prices.
something for y'all to digest, to look at,
Okay.
and, you know, you can take it from there. Obviously, it's no problem.
Okay.
I had one question for
Sure.
you. The fire hydrants, we had a house that burned down last out of town a long time ago, and one of the fire hydrants we found out was not working.
Correct.
Have we checked those, do you know, or where are we in the
The-
process of all the fire hydrants within the
Okay.
city?
The fire hydrants, as I understand it, is talking to the men that was here after I had left. The fire hydrants were not typically checked on a service-by-service basis, okay? And that can be for multiple reasons. I mean, they're busy, shorthanded, there's any number of reasons that can be the reason. When I was here, we did do periodic sections of the fire hydrants that was in the most critical areas. Not every single hydrant in the city, but in the most critical areas.
What does that mean?
Okay, in your largely densely populated areas that we have, we would service those hydrants because we can drag line, we can run from that hydrant, drag line down to the other
Okay.
homes, and we have water.
All right.
And those were primarily done because before we purchased the tanker truck, we
hadn't
didn't
used
have
that.
that ability. We didn't have the water capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to try to rely on that and use our brush trucks and things at that point to try to service Bethel or anything area outside of our city areas that we needed to service. But I'm going to visit with the boys tomorrow with the fire department, and I'm going to make a recommendation that they do a service log when they do training apparatus like we used to.
Good.
Go out, try to check the hydrants, at least flush them. And I'm gonna visit with the city boys also because they should be flushing these hydrants as well.
Okay.
That's not up to the fire department to do all of that. Fire department will do it as training, but it's the city guys that are ultimately, that they need to flush these hydrants. By flushing them, you open them, you make sure they work. They don't flush, they're broke, fix them.
All right.
And we do have a couple of can tankers out there, but we will get onto that, and I'll report that to the mayor, and we'll have that for the next meeting, and we'll go through that.
What about manpower,
As far as,
employees down, how are y'all doing there? You full
we
staff?
have not, no, we haven't hired any additional folks.
Are you short?
Well, we utilized, with the amount of
water
things
department,
after
we
the
should-
last budget meeting that we had, it was decided that no additional personnel would be hired at this time, that we would use the contractor for major issues, use our city in-house for minor issues.
Mhm.
That's basically what we've been doing.
How's it
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's working fine. We're getting the major issues dealt with. We're trying to get caught up on a lot of the minor issues. Could we use more manpower? Well, of course we could. But like I said, at the budgetary side, y'all decided that to hold on that point at that point. And if y'all decide to, at some point, want to bring in some more manpower, well, then we'll certainly stick our nose out in there. We'll find some fellas and we'll bring them in. And then we can kind of veer off of the contract side so much.
I guess the biggest thing is, one, do we have the manpower to take care of our citizens and all? And then two, is it financially beneficial for us to contract out that we talked about rather than hiring other people? That's what I'm more concerned about. Are we spending more money by hiring contract or are we not? That's what I'm looking for. So y'all can get me that.
Yeah.
I think the council would like something like that as well. Because at the time, we were assuming and we were guessing that was probably the best route to go.
Right, well, okay, it's kind of a double-edged sword. and I don't want to draft a lot of time because I know there's other things to go on here. But it's kind of a double-edged sword when you contract anything out, whether it be a city, your home, your car, a flat tire. You rely on the contractor that you're utilizing.
Yes.
You get good ones, you get bad ones, you get cheap ones, you get expensive ones. This particular contractor, I watch very closely and we monitor it. Now, he's been dealing with a lot of major issues. Now, even had we not had the contractor and we just had our full city crew, you know, four in the water department, 4 or 5 in the maintenance, and we can merge them. We've been trying to cross-train our boys a little bit so they can work together. But even if you had that, on some of these issues, you would have had to contract it in. So there's a lot of these issues that we just didn't have any choice. So when he was here, it did save the city quite a bit of money because they don't have to bring in the equipment. We don't pay transport fees. We don't pay all that. They're already here.
Okay.
So it worked out for us.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, what would you be able to give us if you were to even? Because, like you said, if our workers can't do the work,
Well,
Then
what I would
how would
do
we
is-
be able
okay,
to
what I would
get it
do,
done?
sir, is do a basic operation of the equipment that we have on hand.
Mhm.
Means the equipment the city owns, okay? What we have, what our assets are, what are our men capable of doing?
Yes.
Now, mentally, the men know how to do this work. You know, Mr. Barnes and the other ones, they're very familiar with doing the work. The problem is if you don't have all of the equipment you need to do the work, then you're just you're still back in limbo.
Yes.
We'd love to do it, we're here, but we gotta contract it out.
Yeah.
So what I would do there is to back out all of the major appliance areas, and I'll put it all in numbers for you.
Mhm.
And then go back down to the areas that we could have dealt with or we could deal with. Unfortunately, like our backhoes were down, and some of the information I was given was not actually accurate as to the operational containment of this equipment. When I started looking into it, well, a lot of it just it needs a lot of repair work. We have one backhoe that needs about $18,000 just to reseat it. You know, so there was some other factors there that was the reason for that to bring it up to the table. But at some point, those items need to be repaired. We need to get our equipment base up and get our manpower up, get off of there and roll like this town's done for the past 50 years. You know, this is just a get over the. I mean, nothing was set as permanent on this issue. Yes, sir.
John, how we doing on the American Rescue Plan projects?
The
And we have-
American Rescue Plan project contains 3 primary areas. The water pump station down off 77, y'all will notice, you see the big blue pump sticking up there. We're going to replace that and put above ground pumps and an enclosure there. So the city is back under compliance with its required water capacity. And we're enlarging our pumps. So the Odom will have future growth and not have to worry about its infrastructure trying to play catch up. So that was one of my big focuses on that. The same with our water tower. Our water tower is of the age now that she's tired. She needs a little maintenance. The problem is when we shut our water tower in, unfortunately, the city has no water. It's a gravity feed system. So we're going to put a bypass loop where the water tower is with a surge tank. So we can pull the water tower down, we can maintain it, and we can run off of the pumps and run the city just fine. If we ever had a catastrophic line failure, and I know the mayor and I, the previous mayor and I, we've talked about this before. Mayor, now we've talked about this. If you had a catastrophic line failure, you drain that, the city is completely dead in the water. Absolutely no water, zero, nothing. Most citizens don't realize it. They just take all of this for granted that it's there and it's okay. So those are the 2 major components of that American Rescue Plan right there. The third component is to do some upgrades and some things that we needed out at our waste treatment facility. So, and the same goes for the other grant that we're working on with the county and that sort of thing, which is $2.2 million. And what that is that's going to enhance our infrastructure system again, water, sewer, and some of the other infrastructure the city's requiring to have. So, and I apologize, I'm up here. I'm not a politician, I'm a nuts and bolts. So I talk about pipes and water and this and that, but I know it's boring, but that's just basically what.
One more real quick. People been calling Turner in front. What's going on over there?
Okay, Turner in front, we have a contractor that's set to do work on that. What we're going to do is we have 3,500 square feet in that square portion. And I was out there the other night, and I swear to you, there must have been 35 cars go through there in 20 minutes, seemed like.
Everybody complains about that.
And so it has a large hump in there. Those of you that's driven over, it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to remove that hump. We're going to grade that. We're going to put that center section into concrete. Asphalt is just not working. It's water sogged, and then that's where all the giant potholes become very evident on the vehicles. So we are in process on that one right now, and we did have a minor change of plan. I spoke to the contractor. We were going to run water levees in there, but the levees are not working because we have too much saturation down below the subgrade. So we're going to concrete it. It'll last for the next 100 years. And it would be about the same money as if we were to go back in and repack subgrade. So, and the contractor that's doing it, they're very knowledgeable on this sort of thing. We've used them in the past, have no issues with them whatsoever.
Thank you.
You guys are dragging y'all out, so
Hang on, John.
get long-winded sometimes.
Thank you.
Hey, John.
Okay, now we're gonna go to discussion action items. We have discussed, consider, and take action to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held on January 3rd, 2023. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for January 3rd.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? No discussion? Can I take a vote from place one? Oh, sorry.
Page
3, place 3,
Yes.
place 4,
Yes.
place 5.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next, we have discussed, consider, and take action to approve the amended minutes of the December 6, 2022 meeting to reflect the corrections. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for December 6th, the amended minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made in second. Okay, any discussion? No discussion. Take a vote from place 3,
Yes.
place 4,
Yes.
place 5.
Yes.
Next, we have discussed, consider, and take action to approve resolution number 622, the ordering of a general election on May 6, 2023 for mayor, Alderman Place 1, Alderman Place 2, Alderman Place 3, Alderman Place 4, and Alderman Place 5.
Make motion to approve resolution suspension.
Any discussion? Take a vote, place 3,
Yes.
place 4,
Yes.
place 5.
Yes.
Okay, next we have discuss, consider, and take action to approve the election service contract between the city of Oldham, and Oldham Gateway Independent School District and the San Patricio County for May 6, 2023 elections. This time.
I'm over to approve the election service contract.
Motion made by Jesse, second by Isaac.
Any discussion?
Yes, is that gonna be a problem with you with that, the new, election place, Pam? The new election poll over there, is that,
For
yeah,
the co-op?
with the school district or anything?
No, we've already reserved it for the May 6th election, so we will keep it there. And I think it's bigger. We didn't have an issue with it in November at all. There's parking, and I think people from Odom really enjoyed that. They had more voting space.
Yeah.
And we spoke to, I can't remember his name, but the manager there, and I think that everything worked out. That's what we were kind of on a trial basis, and so it all worked out.
And the school's on board with this?
The school hasn't really, asked anything yet. I believe that they're voting on a bond election.
Yeah.
And so they'll go wherever the city is. Because
Okay.
that's
Okay.
what the
They're gonna
election
talk to you,
law
right?
says, that the school districts have to be where the cities are. And because we're a countywide voting, and that's our location, we always recommend using the same location for all elections.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we had already.
If y'all don't mind, y'all would excuse me, I got a game to go back to.
Okay.
Thank y'all. Yes.
No, no.
No, you'll talk to me all night.
Yeah, we just have to vote.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Okay, no further discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. Place 3,
Yes.
place 4,
Yes.
place 5?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Next, we have discussed, consider, and take action to approve TxDOT notice of intent to pursue exception to section 4F letter. We have Orlando, were you gonna let them know about
I'm
the,
just here trying to questions.
okay,
Would you like me to speak about the project or?
about the letter?
Okay, about the
The
letter.
project and letter, yes,
So,
please.
For the letter itself, I can tell you, so I'm a construction engineer, I can tell you what it applies to the actual construction of the project. I don't know all the technicality when it comes to the environmental clearance, but I can try to answer to the best of my ability. So for TxDOT to let any of our projects, we have to go through an environmental clearance process. And depending on the location, there are certain regulations that we have to go through, certain clearances that we have to meet. Our project right now is from in case you're not familiar, we have an overlay from business or from US 77 all the way to County Road 1068. This is the first of 3 projects that we're going to have, but this one is the one that is being impacted because we also have pedestrian elements, and we have some pedestrian elements within the park. Excuse me, I don't remember the park's name. I'm sorry, but the park.
Odom City Park. Odom City Park.
So because we're working so close, or actually within the park limits, we have to, or it triggers a high level environmental clearance. And that's what I'm not really familiar with. I just know that there's this exception where as long as we meet all the requirements for the exception, we can go through it, and we don't have to go into all the weeds of that. How it impacts the project itself is if the exception is not approved, then the environmental process will have to go the long path. I'm just gonna put it that way, and it would delay the letting and the construction of this project. Now, what this exception states is that we're not going to affect the park, that we're not gonna be there for the majority of the construction of the job,
Mhm.
and that we're not gonna take ownership of it. It's still gonna be yours. And I think that we're not gonna affect anything significant within the actual park. If I remember correctly, I don't
Yeah.
have the letter memorized,
It
but
just says,
That's it.
it just won't affect the right of way of the facility.
correct.
I just pulled it up, so.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, won't, change it or stuff like that.
correct. So we met with Mayor, and what she saw our plans. As a matter of fact, from results from our meeting, we're gonna make some modifications to it because the way it was modified, or the way our plans are now, we were trying to prevent, work within the actual park as much as we could.
Mhm.
But it was gonna be unorthodox. So during our meeting, it was gonna discuss that if you guys allow, or if the council allows, we could go within the park limits and fix or make modifications to the sidewalk where once we're done, it'll look better, it'll be safer for the pedestrians, but that would be step 2. So step 1 would have to go to get this exception approved. If this exception is approved by the city council, I will send a second letter that would be a right of entry agreement. Once that is approved, then we can go ahead and
Move
fix the
forward.
sidewalk within the park limits for you.
So I'm looking at the picture and it's showing that, the meat market would be taken care of and the pizza.
Correct.
But
The
would
other
you
side
not
too.
take care of everybody on this side?
No, so actually, this
Both
project
sides.
was scoped only on State Highway 234. Through a request, I'm not sure who initiated it,
It's both
But-
sides.
but
Huh?
through-
It's both sides.
But it's
yeah,
not
It's
that
so-
both-
was-
it's
it
both
was-
sides.
it was
Uh-huh.
requested
It was-
to.
I'm owner, and he's an owner, and he's an owner,
Yes, so it was
to
not-
expand it.
Correct, it was requested to expand it, so
Yes.
the extra work was added through, as contingency work. And there's also limitations that we have on what we can do with, incidentals and contingency type work. So that's how we would be addressing this side of the road. However, if to be able to do more, it would be a long process.
Didn't he
So
say
why
that they were
couldn't
gonna
you-
do on the other
what-
side too?
Yes,
Both sides, right?
yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
both
but it's
sides.
not the entire side.
But correct.
No,
not
it's,
entirely.
it's,
It's not the
It's
entire
only
side. Part of
the-
it is not the entire side.
And just because,
It's not.
It's not
it
this.
doesn't include-
Billy,
no,
how
no,
far
no,
your
no,
property
it's-
go?
It's
It
just,
doesn't
it-
include-
Yeah,
It doesn't
so-
include Billy's.
See,
It
and-
doesn't.
include my building
So,
also.
so what I'm saying is, why can't you
Yes.
take this and just shift it this way a little bit? I'd rather have this all done instead of half of it.
So let me, I'm gonna try, I actually don't have the, let me see if I can pull up the exhibits. But I think we go all the way to the tracks.
okay.
Oh, to the track.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
no,
oh.
it's doing,
But.
it's just that the
I'm
picture
sorry,
didn't catch it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what-
Yeah, no,
okay,
it was,
okay.
The
it
mayor
was,
looked at
yes,
it when we
it was,
met.
it was all,
When I said,
that's
when
what I
you
said,
were
it was
talking
all
about
of
that
it,
side, I
yeah.
thought you were talking about, the FM road, which
No,
we're
I
not gonna go.
No, 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 no.
No,
Because there's a fire hydrant right there, that's a city property going, I think
Yes.
the mayor, like, whatever it is.
Yes.
Correct. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Correct, sorry.
Yeah, that's, it just
sorry,
doesn't
going
show
all
the
the way.
whole thing
Yes,
on
but
there.
all the way
Yeah.
to the tracks.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's a business owner, he's a business, and I'm the other business. So we-
on both sides.
Both-
Yeah, it's doing the whole
Yeah.
side.
Correct, so as part of this, the scope of this job.
Oh, okay.
we'll be,
Yeah, because it
addressing
doesn't
the
show the whole
FM
thing on
Oh,
that one,
okay,
that's the
okay.
whole thing, but it says,
And then handicap also, ADA accessible.
yes.
Correct, correct, that's the reason,
Yeah.
so that's what we discussed during our meeting, and that's what we're gonna make, those modifications, within the
On
park.
the part
Like I
too.
said, it was right now, the way we have it is not
Yeah,
very
because there's,
orthodox.
Yeah.
we need that.
Because we
bad.
didn't want to really go inside the park and start working in there. But if city council is okay, we can, with it, we can definitely make those modifications to our plans. But for that, we would just need the right of entry agreement.
Oh, yeah.
That's the letter F that they need to, for us to get permission to
Mhm.
do
Yeah.
that. to
But
fix
it
the
goes
part
in
too,
steps, right? So,
yeah.
the first step is to get this environmental exception, because without this exception, we cannot let the project.
Correct.
Once, this is cleared, then, we're on track to start construction. And that's when we start working on the right of entry letter. And, I guess that's what's gonna be utilized, when we actually go into, the construction.
How about time frame, Orlando? How long are we looking at? Next week?
No, so
Next
this is,
No, they didn't.
right now, this, project is scheduled to let in April.
Oh, April.
Uh,
Well, even better.
If city council approves, this exception today, it'll keep us on track. If not, like I said, we'll.
I'll make a motion that we.
To
no.
those, delays, but right now, we're on track,
Good.
for April. Really, the critical path to lead, and I'm not trying to portray you, I'm being honest, the critical path right now is the environmental process. Is the only thing that, right now could delay it, as far as design.
Correct.
If the design is going well, and we're meeting every milestone, so we're on track for that. Now, it's just a matter of the environmental clearance.
Raleigh, did this fix your problem at the corner? Remember that corner was tight for you, the trucks that were turning? like
Oh,
that?
yeah,
Does it fix it?
I haven't seen it, but,
No, they haven't.
you can talk to the chief of police, how many times,
That sign is-
I know 4 times that y'all had to come and stand that sign.
Yes, no, I'm aware, it comes out of our office, so yeah, I know that we have to come and visit, so right
That's
now,
it, when they're gonna. fix
we,
it.
are trying to modify it.
Mhm.
I met with the designer,
Yeah.
and I brought it up to their attention because honestly, they were not looking at it, as per the last, submittal. So, after that, I met with them, I brought it up to their attention, and they're trying to make it work. The main problem or the main restriction there is that to get rid of the bulb out, it puts us in a very tight space to accommodate for the ADA ramps.
Right.
So,
You can move them.
yes, so right now, the designer didn't make any promises, they're gonna try their best to be able to fit it all, but we might come to, either or. And I just don't have an answer for that.
Anything's better than we got, because, and also the cross, whatever the hands are, if you look over there, you can't even see the hand on the other side.
Oh,
Because there's poles in the way, so,
correct.
on
So
both sides.
You're talking about the pedestrian heads.
Yes.
I'm like,
So that would also, be addressed.
Address when it comes to,
I make a motion, we approve the text dot notice of intention.
I second it.
okay, any further discussion?
We're just kidding.
So, yeah.
I only have one
Okay.
question. You said that it was gonna go all the way to the railroad. Now, only railroad property, right? Not all the way to the railroad.
Correct, well, although, correct, the road right away,
Yeah.
yes,
The
we
right
we
of
will
way.
not.
We're not gonna
yeah,
go to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Any equipment-
No, we do not have the authority to go to the railroad right away.
No, they're not.
They'll give you a hard time.
No, they won't do it. Yeah.
Even though they get-
Go ahead.
Yes, where the
Fix the drainage.
handicap ramp is, at some point, somebody dumped concrete and rock there. So, and that's right here on the corner. So if anyone tries to get through there on a wheelchair, it is extremely difficult. So when y'all do the overlay of the highway, if y'all could look at that, I think that would be very helpful.
It is to my understanding that a lot of the ramps within the entire project limits are not in compliance, and that's why we're replacing them. So, and that's, if you goes back to the comment from earlier, where to be ADA compliant, there's certain measurements that these ramps need to have.
Correct.
And because, and that's what's putting us right now in a tight space for this corner.
Like I said, someone just poured, built concrete and rock. And we can't, I tried to get those and chip it up out of the way, because it's bad.
Correct. No, we will be replacing it. I mean, we're not gonna try to
I
modify
just
what's
didn't know if
there.
you were aware of it or not. So.
I personally was not, but we're replacing that.
Perfect.
Okay,
You can come tomorrow at 8 and we'll show you.
okay, now we're gonna take a vote. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you.
Wanda.
So if y'all don't mind, I'll be stepping out.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay,
Thank
take
you
it.
too.
Thank you.
No, I think it's good, Austin.
Okay, take a vote from place 3,
Yes.
place 4,
Yes.
place 5.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Okay, now we have update report from San Patricio County EDC. Adam?
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get y'all a copy of the report, that's all right? You already have one.
Two.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
I know you already have one. Thank y'all again for having me here tonight. I appreciate it. I'm Adam Gabareski. I'm the president of the San Patricio County EDC. And Councilman Falcone is on my board, and so he gives these reports all the time.
You're good.
I'm tired of them, and I know that the mayor and the city manager give my monthly reports as well. So they'll see minutes and talk about exchange. We have anything more, we cover the 9 cities in the county, and we are the new storm marking on 4 counties, so we all do this to manufacturing plants, retail, all that kind of stuff. And so it's always going to get, I'm in all the cities, just let them know we're still here, still working on your path. And so, going to a full report regarding projects, and I think you guys already on the county whole today, and so I'll take a look at us and I'll work on this. Again, they cover the line city for as far west as Memphis, to the lake, and for as far east, we're just past, 9 cities, and there's 9 mayors, and our board is 34 different people across the county. The package you have there in your hand is our monthly report that we get out. It has basically everything that we do in the month. It has updates within the county, projects we're working on. We give everything a project code name, so we don't release to the public, all the major corporations. We can't do that legally. There's financial updates in there. We are very financially stable. So we're not going anywhere. We don't work for the county, but we are funded from the county, the port, the 9 cities, the chambers of commerce, and then all private investment across the county.
There's also workforce trends and unemployment data in there. I'll give you a couple of facts regarding the city of Odom as well as we go down this. Sales tax numbers and then census data. I mentioned we're the external marketing arm for the county. So we're all over the place. We're coast to coast. We're traveling 25 times a year to different conferences, trade shows, marketing events. We do have our target markets that we go after. So we don't just go after every type of project in the country. Not everything is going to be a fit for our region. So we go after manufacturing, which is a broad category. I typically focus on steel and iron, trying to get suppliers and vendors and downstream suppliers for Steel Dynamics. And then, we focus on other kinds of metals and then other kinds of manufacturing too. So it's a broad category, but there are it's a broad target that we go after all across the country. Petrochemical operations. We're working on a lot of petrochemical plants right now, different types of fuel operations, making jet fuel, diesel. I mean, they're all just different kinds of petrochemical operations. We do keep in mind our cities where the residential units are. We don't try to put manufacturing plants and petrochemical plants next to residential units. Typically, we try to put these away from those, also away from commercial, and typically those fall outside the city limits. Of course, we want you to be able to get the tax base, so we try to find those sites that aren't going to mess with the residential areas. We focus on agriculture, a lot of green energy, a lot of green hydrogen, green ammonia. That's probably the majority of what we're working right now is green ammonia, green hydrogen. We're the hotbed. Corpus Christi region is the hotbed for those types of projects. We're getting a lot of international looks. We're working on projects I've got one from Australia, I've got one right now we're trying to finalize from Denmark that we're going to put on, it's about 2 miles north of the city of Gregory. About a $1.1 billion project, making petrochemical operation, making a kind of a fuel. I can't say exactly what kind, but we'll be able to tell you pretty soon. 65 new jobs. That one's going just outside the city limits of Gregory. We're working another big one that's going on the south side of Highway 181 along the rail line, outside the city limits in between Gregory and Taft. We're working on all kinds of stuff. Aviation, aerospace. We're also focusing on retail now. Y'all want some retail, more retail here. So we need to kind of uncover some more retail sites in the city of Odom. So hard corners that are available, 1 acre, 2 acre sites anywhere in the city. So if you have anybody that keeps track of those, send those to me. This is fairly new to us. We've been marketing retail for about a year, but now we have several that we're working on right now. And those are all across the board from the major chains. There's Schlotzsky's Dairy Queen. I've got a Mr. Daddy's looking around this area. It's all different kinds. Have y'all been to Mr. Daddy's before? We're trying to place that somewhere in this general region. That being said, we've upgraded all of our marketing. We're trying to stay competitive with all the other major areas in the state of Texas. And if you look at our new website, we spent a fortune on it to make it look fantastic. We're up there with San Antonio and Laredo and all the others, if not better than theirs. All of our marketing materials brand new. We've spent money on everything. We did a full rebranding over the last year and a half to have everything brand new, fresh. Everything we have is brand new color schemes, brand new everything. New property flyers, I know Mr. Doctor, you see all this stuff every month. So let's go into some basic demographics and stats and things like that I'll share with you. And I'll be here in like another 8 minutes. I won't take all your time. So demographics across this is for the county, not just for your city. So the county median age right now, we're at 38.1, which is still relatively young age. Average household income right now across the county is $80,365. That's typically for a 2-person household. Unemployment rate right now, Coastal Bend region, we're at a 4.6%, which is quite a bit higher than the state average and the national. So we're at 4.6. The state of Texas is at 3.6, and the United States right now is at 3.3%. So you see, we're a couple points higher, a full point and a half higher than the national average. And that's we can't really figure out why. And that's because a lot of local operations are always moving around, and people come here for work and they leave, things like that. So it's easier to track in other areas, not as easy to track here in our region. Current population numbers, our county is at 68,775 people within San Francisco County. Population of Odom right now is 2,306. I'm sure you all probably already knew that. The number that we typically talk about, because we're dealing with CEO levels and corporate executives of these major companies, international and domestic, is the 430,000 people that we have within our metropolitan statistical area. So that's 430,000 people within our 45 million here. These companies want to know that they're going to be able to have the workforce to staff these organizations. Sales tax dollars. City of Odom right now, looking for this period, y'all are up 0.92% this period, 0.92% from this time last year. Out of our 9 cities, 3 of those are negative right now. So well done that y'all are the positive. So put that number in perspective, this period, City of Odom collected 46,605. And this time last year, you had 46,178. So those should match all your city records. Housing right now, current median home price in the county is at 229,000. That has gone down quite a bit over the last 3 months. You can probably guess why. The rates have gone way up. They're at 6.2, 6.3% right now. This time last year, they were around 3%, maybe 2.5 to 3%. So anybody that bought a house prior to 6 months ago, you did well. So 229,000. That number is down 8.4% from this time last year. Active listings right now are up a lot higher, 39.4%. A lot of product on the ground right now. People aren't buying like they were due to those rates being so high. Homes are typically spending 61 days on the market. They're taking an average of 35 days to close for a total of 96 days. So that's not a bad time frame. Not great, but not bad. It's 61 days on the market to sell and then 35 days to closing. Closed sales right now are down 35.8%. So if you're a realtor in this room, it's probably, I feel bad for them right now. It's a bad time to be a realtor. Sales are down that low, which means commissions are down 40% from what they had last year. And these housing numbers we're getting from the Realtors Association. So I didn't pull these numbers myself. These are from the Realtors Association. The price distribution for those homes across the county, 37.3% of these are between $200,000 and $300,000 homes. 30.5% are between $100,000 and $200,000 homes. Product updates. So we had two major products here that came online full throttle last February of 2022. So about one year ago, they both finished construction. That's Steel Dynamics and I can refer to them as Exxon. It's Gulf Coast Growth Ventures. So they are both fully employed right now. Gulf Coast Growth Ventures is at 670 employees. Steel Dynamics is at 600 employees. The neat thing about the Steel Dynamics plan is we've been successful at locating another 6 companies that went on their site in the last 12 to 18 months. And those companies are, you've probably seen all the names, Bull Moose 2, Farragon, Faravoy, ThyssenKrupp, which manufactures like the steel elevators in the Hyatt Marriott properties, high-rise hotels, and things like that. So we've been successful at locating 6 of those for another 400 jobs on the Steel Dynamics site. So there's 1,000 people reporting to work at that site every day. Gulf Coast Growth Ventures is at, I mentioned, 670 employees. They're at full scale. Matter of fact, we're helping the Workforce Solutions with a job fair next week, and they're not participating because they have all 670 employees accounted for. Same with Steel Dynamics. They only need like 3 employees, what they told us. So they have pretty much all 600 that they need. Total products that we worked on for the over last year. The report that you have is for January, so you don't have our numbers that finalized in 2022. We ended up working a total of 120 products that came across my desk at some point. 75% of those come from the state and the governor's office. When they get inquiries that come, either domestic or international, they go to the governor's office and they filter them down to us. The other 25% of those came from our own external marketing efforts. So us going to the Steel Show in Detroit, or us going to Target CEO Joe in Southern California and trying to recruit them out of Long Beach, and places like that. So those are the ones that I really focus on, are those 25%. Out of the 120 that we worked last year, we're still working, I'd say probably 10% of those. A lot of them fall off. We don't have existing buildings here. We have land, so we can't participate with a lot of those that are looking for 300,000 square feet buildings or 1 million square foot buildings. To put that in perspective, in 2021, the year before, we had 88 leads. So we went from 88 to 120. Main reason for that is coming out of COVID, a lot of these international companies finally decided they're going to start expanding into the United States and reshoring, and so we're working a lot of those, and a lot of them that are looking at Texas are coming to us now. So numbers have drastically increased. So we're working about 55% of those. I'd say right now the real hotter ones that we're working on, probably about 15 total, and we're really trying to put a lot of our time and effort into that Denmark company that we're trying to locate north of Gregory. We've got a big Japanese plant that we're trying to locate out at, we call it the Blue Bay site area, which is out by the county airport. All familiar with that area in between Highway 35 and 361. So we've got a big, the Japanese company is a major name. When we're able to announce it, everybody will probably know who it is, but it's a chemical division. So it's a chemical plant making green ammonia and hydrogen. Okay, and then there is a steel plant that's going to be co-located with that. First phase will be a $3 billion project. Over the 10-year period, it could be a $20 billion project, which would be our second largest project in the county. Our first one is Cheniere, which is at $23 billion currently. So there's a couple of examples. We're working on other stuff, some smaller, some medium size, I mean, all across the board, along with some retail. The retailers do not go in my numbers. I don't ever put those in the reports. So those 120 are all the big job generators, 100 employees and over. So that's really all I have. Again, thank you all for having me here tonight. I'm going to be here probably again once more towards the end of the year. I appreciate you setting this up.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
During the meeting last week, the big issue is water. So how are we doing? Are they trying to?
Water and power are two key issues. We've lost two products in January already, totaling $6 billion. So we haven't had a big product location here since Steel Dynamics and Exxon. It's the water and the power. It's not just the water, it's the power also. It's not necessarily the power itself. We have the power, but because you'll have three big products here before I came here, Cheniere and Gulf Coast Growth Ventures and Steel Dynamics consumed all the power. And so now there are not existing lines out to all these industrial sites where we're trying to locate these projects. Being a public utility like American Electric Power, they can't just go and build lines out to these sites on spec. They have to have a contract in place. And so the timelines for us to get these lines up to those sites, the Blue Bay site or just different big industrial sites is about a 4-year time frame. And so we had a group from China in that was going to manufacture solar panels. So not the solar panels out in the field, but like the big manufacturing plant that manufactures those. And so we had 7 people coming here from Shanghai, and they were looking at us in Houston. And by the end of that meeting, they went to Houston because of our long-term power agreements. And that's the power on one hand, 4-year time frames to get power to these sites. And the water, this time last year, they were telling us, we buy our water from the city of Corpus Christi. Everybody knows that. They were telling us this time last year that we had 40 million gallons of excess water capacity per day to offer these companies. So we're full throttle going all over the country, bragging about our water, and had a ton of products looking here. But then I guess the water department over there hired a new executive staff. They reconfigured their numbers, and we're being told now that we have 3.5 million gallons of excess water capacity per day. That's really one project. To put that in perspective, Steel Dynamics is using 13 million a day. Gulf Coast Growth Ventures is using 22 million a day. The entire city of Portland uses 25 million a day. So I mean, you can figure those numbers. Where it's a pretty tough situation right now to be in. So we're exploring all avenues on the water. I mean, we're talking about pulling water from the Evangeline ground system, 30 or 40 miles northwest of here and running a pipeline. That's a $60 million issue, but we might have to go that route. The Port's trying to do a desal plant, and I hope they get it because we need it. The city of Corpus is trying to do one. It would be a lot smaller, and we wouldn't benefit as much. So we're going to push for that port desal plant. One of our products is she's so irritated with our water situation, and she's going to be, it's a female CEO out of Europe we're trying to locate here, and they're going to be digging a trench from Copano Bay's estuaries and running it to her side on the north side of Gregory, and using all salt water. 65 employees for that project, so they would actually just dig a well for the bathrooms, and sinks and things like that, small scale, and then use the rest of the salt water for the process that makes with CO2 to make a fuel. So, and then we're exploring, we're getting very creative. I mean, nobody would ever thought to be pulling water from an estuary to salt water in the process. We've always thought we were getting plenty of fresh water here. So.
We need to get with Alice. They got desal.
I talked to Alice the other day. I saw him up at
So those two issues, we've got a couple of our big projects that we're trying to look at on the airport, high restrictions out there for the landing strip. For those issues too. We can only build it 157 feet high. We have 12 million blocks still out there that are we can't lose because of the high restriction thing. LPG did bring it 30 feet high. Mexico 30 feet to get 420 feet high, rolling stack. So we've been talking to the county judge. We're going to talk to the airport. We're going to go on the north side of
send the numbers to
Yeah.
them. Matter of fact, Howard Gillespie was in the meeting. At first, he's the one who told me,
Wow,
not gonna happen. And then now they're thinking, well, maybe we'll get brand new.
it's a lot of land out there. It's a lot of land.
Well, they're thinking they might get new, brand new hangars and brand new runway out of the deal that they don't have to pay for.
Good deal.
Use the board, get the industry to pay for it.
Yeah.
So
That'd be good.
it's coming your way. You're gonna see it. Anyhow, well, thanks for having me.
Thank you,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Adam,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Okay, next, we have reports from mayor, city council, and staff may be given, but no formal action can be taken. We have, this is a notice that we have to put up for the citizens. The Union Pacific Railroad will be closing the crossing at Baylor Street on February 15th and 16th. That's Wednesday and Thursday. It will be closed from 6 a.m. February 15th through 6 p.m. February 15th through 6 p.m. and February 16th for repairs. Did I say it wrong?
No, that's right.
I said it right? Okay. Okay, if you have any questions, y'all can call City Hall.
Does the ambulance know about that?
They're, when she's notifying.
Police
everybody.
department and ambulance know about that?
Yes, they've notified everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
She notified everybody.
We will be posting it on
Yeah,
our website,
it's gonna-
Facebook,
Yeah,
like
it's
the
Baylor
week,
Street.
like the Monday
I don't
when
think
it starts.
we had our meeting last night.
Look at it.
We'll send them an email to update you. Okay, and also, Janie sent out an email for the city council regarding February 22nd. If anybody was interested in going to
24th.
to the 22nd. Oh, that's a different
Oh,
one.
just on
That's a-
22nd for what?
22nd, that's for this legislation.
I'm like, me too, what is? Oh, legislation.
Yeah,
Yes.
the San Patricio County's, the Mayor's Association, and they invited the city council staff if they would like to join also. on that.
It's a one day.
It's a one day on the 22nd. And if you do decide if you want to go, please get with Janie so she can,
Yes, so I
Reservation,
can,
let them
sign
know.
you up because there's a fee for luncheon and brochures and things like that to be able to get you into the legislation that's going to take place.
okay, the next one is the GML quarterly meeting on February 24th. So if any of y'all are interested,
Yeah, let me know.
get with Janie also so she can,
If y'all already know
Yeah.
you're going,
let her know.
sign you up and.
They just told me down.
And, yeah, and also another thing that we got calls on was regarding the water rates. The water rates are not going up. It was just a no, we didn't,
Oh, that's-
no, we never, yeah, we didn't, it was just a discussion, remember?
Oh, yeah.
It was just for discussion. You did, I think you did ask a question about if they were gonna pass on to the citizens, and Janie said, no, we have to go to the meetings, we have to go through all this
Because
stuff.
they use a lot of water, so the problem is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's
why.
not sometimes that they
Yeah.
use a lot of water. What happens is when we cut off, when they read the meters,
Mhm.
sometimes the month is short.
Mhm.
Sometimes the next month is longer, so that makes it more
Yeah.
usage.
Yeah.
It seems like it's more usage, but there's more days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's less days.
Okay.
But the rates are not going up.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else?
How about audits? How are we doing in the audits? Any-
The audits, Mr. Hernandez has been asking for more paperwork. We've been sending it to him. So we're waiting on him.
What about the workshop with,
I'm sorry?
The workshop, we only had 2 people respond, right, on that one?
Right, but
Did you
which
say
one?
you're gonna reschedule or something? Isn't there like a couple of workshops we keep saying we're gonna do?
Well,
But
we're
nobody
supposed
shows
to
up.
meet with the Little League
Okay, there's another one.
and then the public investment. That
Yeah.
one, we only had 2 council members, and through the advice of the attorney, it was best if we had at least 3,
Okay.
because that's what is required to, when you go to your, put it on motion. And then the Little League, we only got response from 2 also.
Okay.
So they're waiting to see when you all can meet for a workshop. And their season's coming up.
So can you send us some recommendations so we
Sure.
respond back to you?
Whenever,
So
or,
weekdays are bad for me.
I'm
Like a
sorry,
Monday or Friday is good, but weekdays in the middle is bad for me. So
so Mondays and Fridays are good for you? Okay,
Maybe on a Monday,
okay, and,
maybe check on a Monday.
okay,
You
well, how do
Monday, right?
Mondays look for the
For
rest of us?
Mondays are good for you?
Mondays would be okay.
Okay, check on a Monday and get with
I'll get
Max
with
also
Max
and see.
and see if, at least 3,
See, next week is presidential day, isn't it? Next week.
no,
20.
the week after.
Week after.
Yeah, the 20th. Yeah.
That Monday, the week after is
They have about
President's Day.
Valentine's.
Next week is Valentine's. Okay, so Mondays are basically better.
Yeah.
For all of you. Okay.
I will get with Max and see if we can get together on a Monday, and I will email all of you.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? I have a motion to adjourn.
I hate to bring this subject out. What are we gonna do with place one?
On what?
Are we gonna replace place one? Or are we gonna do status quo to the other? Attorney, what do you
We're
think
gonna
about that?
just,
I think in this, being it's a short time period, because you'd have to go out and put it out for the public so that they can submit their applications and see who has an interest. We're in February. You guys are gonna deal with it in March, appointing somebody in March. They're gonna sit there in April, so it's just.
Just one meeting?
People just ask. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just.
No,
saying,
just
to
say-
clarify.
I don't think it's feasible to do that. I think y'all can handle it.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought we're still in good shape. We still have a quorum.
Yeah.
Now, if it was, and plus, I mean, I think that the term's about to expire in May. If it was still another year, then yeah, I'd say, go forward and appoint someone. But
Just to clarify, so everybody knows.
okay. Do you have a motion to adjourn? Unless you
I'll
had
make a
anything.
motion.
Okay,
Second.
one second. Any discussion? Oh, okay. Votes from place 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.